When we try to understand meaning, we have to understand what is being said, but we also have to understand what is implied. One of the ways meaning can remain implicit is by means of presuppositions. And you don't have to be a fortune teller to figure out what people presuppose. Language itself will let you know. Let's see how. Take the genie. A little while ago, he granted a wish to a sad guy and made him happy. The genie gave him a rose. So now he meets up with his friend Alma, who happens to be a fortune teller. And he tells her about the sad guy and the rose. Of course, Alma already knows. She knows everything. In response, Alma says she thinks the sad guy likes the lily better. But now the genie is confused. He doesn't know everything, and he didn't know that the sad guy had a lily. Hey, wait a minute, he says, as if to hold the flow of the conversation. So Alma tries to calm him down. But really, the genie doesn't care if the sad guy likes the lily better than the rose. All he cares about is that he doesn't know about the lily. And he's right to be confused. Here's why. Remember when Alma told him about the lily? Alma said, the lily, as if the genie knew about the lily. By using the, Alma acted as if the genie should know about the lily. That's what she presupposes. Okay, let's take a closer look at what that means. What does it mean to presuppose something? When we talk to each other, we exchange information. We tell each other about our experiences. We share our own personal worlds. It's like we can transmit what's going on in our minds. We create a common ground in our minds. It's like a mini model of our shared knowledge, so we can watch the other person's experience as if it were a movie or a play. Now, there are certain rules that language imposes on setting up that play. Suppose the sad guy comes back to visit the genie. He's all happy now. They have their shared experience. They know that the genie gave the guy a rose. But now the guy tells the genie something new about his rose. He tells the genie that he planted the rose in his garden. And without ever seeing the rose in the guy's garden, the genie can still imagine it in his head. It is now in the common ground. That's what we do when we assert something. The new information takes up center stage in the common ground. It's what's at issue. But not everything we say is at center stage. There are things we say that are in the background. When the guy says the rose, he implies that there is a unique rose and that the genie knows about this rose. He presupposes that there is a unique rose in the common ground. So now, what happened here? Alma acted like the lily was already on stage, as if the lily were already in the common ground. But the genie had no idea about the lily. There was nothing but a rose in his common ground, and Alma should have known that. So when Alma talks about the lily, she triggers a presupposition. But the genie cannot find this lily in his common ground. And he is confused. So he can stop the flow of the conversation. He wants to make sure that they share the same common ground. Alma should not have used a presupposition trigger. Now, of course, Alma can tell the genie something about the lily she has in mind. But then she would use a and not the. And now the genie would not search for a lily in his ground. He could simply update the common ground without having to stop the conversation. That's what happens with assertions. They update the common ground. And once the common ground is updated, Alma can use the to refer to the lily. And the genie will find the lily in his ground. Now Alma can presuppose that the lily is in the common ground. And the genie will just update his ground. He just has to add that the guy likes the lily. That's what Alma asserted. So we can divide statements into what is asserted and what is presupposed. What is presupposed has to be in the common ground for the utterance to be successful. If it isn't, the addressee has the right to stop the conversation. But the assertion is what's at issue. That's what will make the addressee update their ground. Now, if you don't know what is asserted and what is presupposed, you can use a simple test. Change the statement to a negative statement. In this case, what is asserted differs from positive statements, and therefore the update of the common ground looks different. But the presupposition stays the same. There is a unique lily and a unique guy. And the same is true for questions. If Alma asks if the sad guy likes the lily, what is put into the common ground is precisely this question. But the presupposition is still the same. There is a unique lily and a unique guy. So that's what you do when you want to find out which part of an utterance is asserted and which part is presupposed. The presupposition remains the same, no matter whether you use a positive or a negative statement or a question, but the assertion changes. Suppose finally, Alma reveals how the sad guy got the lily. It was her sister Vagan who gave the sad guy the lily. So now what happens with the genie's common ground? Well, the presuppositions are still the same. There's a sad guy and there is the lily. And what she asserts is that Alma's sister Vagan gave the sad guy the lily, so he updates his common ground. But now you could ask me to stop the conversation. Why wouldn't he stop the conversation? Vagan, Alma's sister, has not been in the common ground. She hasn't been introduced. It looks like Alma presupposes her existence. To be sure, let's see whether the phrase my sister really does trigger a presupposition like the sister would. We use our tests, negation and questions. And it looks like that the meaning of my sister remains the same. It always means that there is one, even in negative statements and even in questions. So, we can conclude that the phrase my sister does in fact presuppose the existence of that sister. The reason the genie didn't get Alma to stop the conversation is that he accommodated this presupposition. Sometimes it's not worth it to stop the conversation. The genie can simply let it go quietly. After all, it's not weird for Alma to have a sister, and so it's easy enough for him to add her to the common ground. Things would have been different if Alma had said this: my axolotl gave him the lily. Now it would be hard for the genie to accommodate the axolotl in the common ground. Because who has an axolotl? That would be unexpected, even for a fortune teller. But sometimes Alma forgets that not everyone knows everything. So when she talks about her axolotl, she will have to introduce him into the common ground before she tells the genie that it was the axolotl that gave the guy the lily.